Have you ever wondered why some tech projects just seem to get it, constantly evolving and delivering what you need, while others feel like they're stuck in the past, arriving late and already obsolete? Well, the secret isn't just about writing better code, it's a whole different way of thinking. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on Agile, the mindset that totally flipped the world of software development on its head.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll look at why Agile even had to exist in the first place, that desperate need for speed. Then, we'll check out the revolutionary manifesto that started it all. After that, we'll see how it works in the real world with Scrum, peek into some of the cool tools Agile teams use, and then we'll wrap up with a much-needed reality check. When does Agile get, well, a little awkward?
All right, so to really understand Agile, you first have to understand the rigid, old-school system that it was rebelling against.
This is the big question, right? This is what kept so many developers up at night. In a world that's changing faster than ever, how on earth do you avoid spending 2 years and an amount of cash building something that nobody wants by the time it finally launches?
Okay, so the traditional way of doing things was what we call plan-driven development. The best way to think about it is like building a skyscraper. You'd spend months, maybe even years, creating this perfect, massive blueprint that details every single nut and bolt before anyone even digs the foundation. The whole idea rests on a huge assumption that you can know everything you need to know right from the very beginning.
And here's where the wheels completely fall off. That old, plan-driven world is all about following a fixed plan. But business reality, it's messy, it's chaotic, requirements change constantly. The old way makes you wait until the very end for the big reveal, but in reality, you need to get feedback early and often. Waiting 2 years to find out you've misunderstood a key feature? Well, that's a disaster.
So, out of all this frustration, a new idea started to bubble up. And it wasn't just a new process. It was a totally new way of looking at the work itself, a new philosophy.
You had this group of developers, and they were just fed up. They were tired of these enormous, heavyweight processes and documentation that felt more important than the actual software. They wanted to get back to basics and focus on the one thing that actually matters, delivering software that works.
And this is what they came up with: the Agile Manifesto. Now, the way this is written is really important. It's not saying that things on the right, like documentation or having a plan, are bad. Of course they're not. What it is saying is that the things on the left are more valuable. It's a fundamental shift in priorities. It's about valuing people over process, results over reports, and flexibility over rigid plans.
So what does this actually look like in the real world? Well, for starters, the customer isn't some stranger you talk to once at the beginning. They're part of the team, giving feedback all the time. You stop trying to build one giant perfect thing and instead deliver working software in small, bite-sized pieces. And maybe most importantly, you embrace the fact that things are going to change. You don't fight it, you build a process that expects it.
Okay, so this philosophy is great and all, but how do you actually do it? How do you put these ideas into practice? Well, the most popular answer by far is a framework called Scrum.
Now, Scrum isn't some super detailed technical guide. It doesn't tell you how to write your code. Think of it more like a playbook or a set of rules for the game. It gives you a simple, repeatable structure for your work, breaking it down into these short cycles called sprints. It's all about creating a rhythm for the team to follow.
And that rhythm is so simple, but it's incredibly powerful. You start a sprint, usually 2 weeks long, by grabbing a small chunk of work from the top of a prioritized list. For those 2 weeks, the team's only job is to get that small chunk of work done. And done means built, tested, and ready to go. At the end, you show it off, get feedback, and then you do it all over again. It's this constant loop of plan, build, review, adapt.
To make this all work, you've got 3 key roles. First, there's the product owner. They're the voice of the customer, and their job is to decide what the team should build. Then you have the development team, the experts who actually build the thing. And finally, you have the Scrum Master. They're like a coach, making sure the team has everything they need and protecting them from distractions.
Okay, so beyond the big picture framework of Scrum, the Agile world has also given us some really powerful hands-on techniques that teams use every single day. A lot of these actually came from another Agile method called extreme programming, or XP.
So instead of writing a 300-page document describing a feature, Agile teams use something called a user story. It's super simple, usually just one sentence, but that simplicity is its secret weapon. It forces you to stop thinking about technical specs and start thinking about what the user is actually trying to accomplish. It shifts the entire conversation from what to why.
All right, this next one is going to sound completely backwards, I know.
It's called test-first development. And you literally write an automated test for a piece of code that doesn't exist yet. The test will fail, obviously. Then you write just enough code to make that test pass. It feels weird, but it's an amazing discipline. It forces you to know exactly what you're trying to build before you build it, and it creates this safety net of tests that protects you down the road.
And then there's this one, pair programming. Yep, 2 developers, 1 computer, 1 keyboard. It sounds inefficient, but it is one of the best ways to spread knowledge, catch bugs as they happen, and seriously improve code quality. It's like having a constant live code review going on, and it almost always results in a better, stronger product.
Now, as much as I've been talking up Agile, it's really important to hit the brakes for a second and be realistic. Agile is not a magic wand. It doesn't solve every problem, and trying to implement it can bring a whole new set of challenges.
The truth is, really adopting Agile is a massive cultural change. You can't just buy a new tool or send everyone to a 2-day training class. It asks for a level of trust, collaboration, and flexibility that can be really hard to find in big, traditional organizations that were built from the ground up to be predictable and hierarchical.
And you run into some really thorny practical problems. I mean, how do you sign a fixed-price contract when the whole point of your process is that the plan is going to change? How do you apply these ideas to a 20-year-old legacy system that no one really understands anymore? And maybe the biggest one, how do you get that constant feedback from customers when your customers are incredibly busy people with their own jobs to do?
So at the end of the day, if you strip everything else away, Agile is a philosophy about one thing: how you deal with change. Do you fight it or do you embrace it? And that leaves us with a really powerful question to ask, not just about software, but about any kind of work we do. Is your process built for stability or is it built for change?